I have to admit, thank you, Andres. I have to admit that when I saw the question, automatically another question popped up in my mind. What if the answer is no? Should we give up? I mean, just go to the beach and wait until oil is gone? Inaction is not an option. As Andrea said, the amount and the wealth and the value of services provided to us by biodiversity is so immense that we cannot risk losing any of it. I mean, we need to give all the effort it's needed for our health, for our food, for whatever. A debate that a parallel debate we've been following on is the debate on climate. One of the biggest life jackets in the fight for climate is healthy ecosystems. Can we risk not to have healthy ecosystems? Name it biodiversity, name it whatever you want, but we need to have them, and we need to get there. And there, following Bernice's point, I would argue, yes, that in the case of biodiversity, we are, let's say, 30 years late, because it took us 30 years of discussion at the UN level for climate change to reach the point where we are now, where inaction is not an option, but still our acts are lacking compared to what science said that where we need to go. If we compare that to the level of activity, level of action, level of commitment on biodiversity, we're far beyond. I mean, we need to move fast there. It's more complex, yes, and time is not with us anymore. And we need to be clear that beyond that the intrinsic value of biodiversity, this is for us, for our ego, for our health, for our food. We're not going to be able to secure any of it without healthy ecosystems. Allow me to be specific, because when we're talking about biodiversity loss, we need to see which are the threats. One of the major threats on biodiversity is the way we produce and consume food. If you see, for instance, the role of the agri-food business as it is today, as a threat to biodiversity, it's a huge thing that it's never discussed. So far, we've been discussing about food and hunger, and actually we're talking about corporate greed and destruction of biodiversity, and has nothing to do with production of food. As we speak today, and you hear too the famous argument about we need to produce more because the population is growing and whatever. No, we produce already 30% more than we need. Actually, it's 50%, but let's stick to 30% more than we need. The rest is dumped. As we've been discussing, if this is going to go to composting or biogas or biofuel. You want to be more specific. Take the EU, for instance. More than 60% of the agri-land is used for animal feed. Simply by shifting part of our diet to plant-based diet, we save big part of biodiversity, big part of the environment, not to mention the amount of fertilizers, pesticides, and water that are not going to be used. We're talking about biodiversity loss. Something like 70% as an average of the water used is used for agriculture. In our case, in Greece, this is 85%. So by saving water, by being more savvy on how we use water, there's going to be a huge benefit to biodiversity, and that combines also with the fight against climate change. Huge amount of acreage and huge amount of pesticides and whatever is used for producing animal feed or waste food. By a different way of planning and different diet, we tend to call it Mediterranean diet, which is very little red meat, some more white meat, and vegetables and fruits, and. The biggest benefit is not just our health, it's biodiversity itself. So let's start walking the talk. It's not that complex, but let's start walking the talk. There is an elephant in the room. It's called food industry, the way it is, and let's try and change. It's not going to be easy, I know. We've learned through the difficulties we faced when trying to challenge and change the fossil fuel industry. We have something similar to do in the case of biodiversity. Let's go and do it.